All right, welcome back to the Al Patriot Show. For today's show, we are on the eve of Election Day, and things are heating up faster than a barbecue on the 4th of July. Let's dive right into things. First, we got a quick poll check. Trump's up, and he's up big. The numbers are looking good, but in classic 2020 fashion, we're already seeing some funny business. Poll machines are flipping votes. That's right, here we go again. Just like in 2020, I mean, can we get these things to work just one time? It's feeling like we're starring in the sequel of 2020, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Out in Pennsylvania, which has been a hot topic for weeks, it's Fraud City. County officials are saying 17% of flagged registration forms look shady. That's 17% of forms that are being shady. I don't know if you guys saw the stats. And on the flip side, Florida's got it right. The Secretary of State says they're on top of things and that they'll have the results on election night. And we need to institutionalize this more on election night. And Florida's been through enough elections to know that if you're still counting by breakfast the next day, you're doing something wrong. And that something's gone off the rails. And maybe the other radically woke states can learn a thing or two from DeSantis and the great state of Florida. And now get this, a non-voter from China has managed to vote in Michigan. How does this happen? I mean, how did we even get here? We've got folks from halfway around the world popping in and voting in Michigan from China. And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. It's going to be in the middle of the show. On today's Wacko Alert segment, you'll hear about Biden and Harris adding new security around the White House with reinforced walls. I guess they're gearing up for a big loss tomorrow. It's the first time you'll see Comrade Kamala building a wall instead of manifesting the United States into communist China. She's finally built a wall, just not on the border. You know what they say, though, baby steps. Later, we'll talk about Elon Musk, a great supporter of patriots and Donald Trump, who has been given the go-ahead to continue his campaign with Trump. He's out here giving away $1 million to a few people who signed his campaign for the Constitution. I don't know how you can get mad at this. And now he's basically won what essentially was a lawsuit with Pennsylvania. I mean, when you got this Musk money, you could just start throwing it around like Monopoly money. But, you know, it's going towards a great cause, America. Sign up, get rich. We love America, the greatest country. We're going to talk about that at the end of the podcast as well. And even though we're completely nonpartisan on this show and unbiased, we'd like to end the episode telling you things about each candidate to help you vote. Remember, the country deserves a fighter, someone who's not afraid to call out the games and shake things up, someone who will take a bullet for democracy, someone who will give up golf for our country. More on that at the end of the episode. Before we begin, we'd like to hear a quick word from ourselves. Today's podcast is powered by ourselves and Podbean, so here's a quick way you can listen to the podcast anywhere. Al Patriot is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Amazon Music, Podbean, iHeartRadio, and everywhere else to listen on the go. If you'd like to see the action as well as hear, check out the full video version over at our YouTube channel, Al Patriot. We're also on Trump's social media network, Truth Social, so head there at Al Patriot for more. Please remember to follow, subscribe, rate us 5 big stars on every platform. Back to the episode. So as we start every episode, we're going to continue doing that with this episode. We're talking about Election Day and the polls. Election Day, look, it's tomorrow. We have the polls. The polls are up bigly. On Bally Market, we were getting a little concerned for a few days, but Trump's back up. He's up 59% over Comrade Kamala's 42%. And even 270 to win has Trump winning. If you look at the polling, no toss-up, because really there's going to be no toss-up. 268 electoral votes to Trump, 251 to Harris, and they're still calling PA a 50-50 toss-up state because it's 50-50 on the dot. That would be 19 votes, but we know that's going to Trump. So if you really look at the polls, it's going to be a big day for Trump tomorrow. It's going to be a big day for America tomorrow. I believe it's going to be a landslide. It's almost going to be like a Ronald Reagan victory for Trump tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. I mean, maybe you don't know what they're planning with the polls. Maybe they'll change the elections, do some late game election interference. I don't know. We'll find out. But that was the quick poll update. We like to do that. Nothing big has changed since 24 hours ago, except for the fact that Trump's lead got even bigger than it was. And speaking of the polling machines, like we said with polling election interference, the polling machines are changing votes. You know how they say they don't want you to have your phones in the polling station? There's big signs they say we don't want you to have your phones in the polling station. There's a reason, because somebody snuck his phone in and started taking video. He kept pushing the button that said Trump, and you know what light would pop up when he clicked the Trump button? The Kamala Harris light would pop up. It would light up like he voted for Kamala Harris even though he voted for Trump. That's why we need to allow the phones in the polling machines. So there's a video of this person voting for Trump, and then it changes to Kamala. And it's happening all over the country, not just this one person wherever he was. It's happening all over the country. We're going to actually play a quick video of it for you. That was a great video that we played. They're already rigging the election. You could see it with that video. So you got to make sure to go out, vote tomorrow if you haven't already, because we need to make this a bigly win for Donald Trump. Pennsylvania is one of the most important swing states, probably the most important state in the upcoming election. And as we mentioned in the open, the Pennsylvania county officials are saying 17% of flagged registration forms are fraudulent. This guy, Mr. D'Agostino, the county commissioner for Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, on Monday, said of the approximately 2,500 voter registration forms officials flagged as suspicious, 57% have been verified as valid, 17% confirmed as fraudulent, and 26% are still being investigated. And that 26% essentially means fraudulent. So if you do the math there, it's over 40%, give or take, fraudulent, and that's essentially 50%. We have so many fraudulent forms or whatever we're talking. I don't know what we're talking about, but something's fraudulent, and we can't be having this. And here's what D'Agostino said. He said, quote, "We spoke to the district attorney this morning about the suspicious and in some cases fraudulent voter registration applications. He said the investigation is still going on, so we can't get too much into detail in accordance with the district's attorney desires because of the investigation. But he said, but thanks to her staff, which we've been on top of since this, I guess, was Monday last week when the two... So what this guy's saying, there's fraudulent forms happening when there shouldn't be fraudulent forms happening. It's almost like maybe something's wrong. Maybe there's election interference. That's essentially what he said. And we'll keep talking about this. Thousands of the mail-in ballots applications in 14 Pennsylvania counties have been challenged by activists, according to Vote Beat Pennsylvania. And this was the quote from Amy Gooley, who was the spokesperson for that group that we talked about. She said, throughout the day on Friday, several bad faith mass challenges were filed in coordinated effort in counties across the Commonwealth to question the qualifications of thousands of registered Pennsylvania voters who applied to vote by mail. Look, voting by mail is a scam, and we know it because you can see what we're talking about here. The bulk of these new challenges claim that any voter living outside the United States is not technically eligible to register as a Pennsylvania voter. What does that mean? We're going to play a clip for you. Let's talk about Florida. We talked about it in the open. Florida, they know what they're doing. And this person said, the Secretary of State of Florida, his name is Cord Byrd, said, we will know the elections of the result on the night of Election Day. Florida Secretary of State Cord Byrd told Newsmax on Monday that Florida counts its votes quickly, allowing state results to be known on election night. This is something that, more states need to do. Byrd said over 8 million Floridians have voted in the election, with early voting increasing by 1 million voters from 2020. He said, quote, Floridians are excited to get out to vote and the state's ready for tomorrow. There's a lot of enthusiasm in this election, and we do anticipate that in certain places around the state there will be lines. We ask everyone to be patient, and as long as voter is in line by 7 p.m., there will be allowed to cast the ballot. It's great news. Byrd also noted that Florida passed significant election integrity reform after the failed rigged election of 2020, and that every Floridian's vote will be counted. He also said that Florida will have its results finalized by Tuesday night. That means if you're watching the election on Tuesday night, you'll be able to know what's going on in Florida that night. So essentially, we need results quick, or else they're going to try to rig it again like they did in 2020. We talked about something earlier. I think it's probably the most important topic of the day. A non-voter from China, someone that probably can't even speak English. I'm not sure if that's true. A lot of people that speak Chinese can't speak English. Maybe he was able to speak English. We don't know. But a non-voter from China has voted in the Michigan election. How does this happen? How does someone, I get, the illegal immigrants come in, they could vote. They shouldn't be able to vote, but they can. But how do we have someone coming in from China? I know they were in the United States, but they're from China, a Chinese resident, a Chinese citizen. How do they vote in the Michigan election? Well, I'll tell you right now. Michigan prosecutors charged a Chinese citizen with voter fraud and voter fraud after he allegedly cast a ballot in the 2024 election. And I'm reading this from CNN, the fake news, but it's so bad that they're reporting it. Sources familiar with CNN said that the 19-year-old Chinese man who allegedly voted is a student who lives in Ann Arbor, home to the University of Michigan. Authorities said the man is not a U.S. citizen and therefore he cannot vote in the federal election. So, it's a crazy concept. The announcement from Michigan's Secretary of State and Attorney General and local prosecutors in uh, Ann Arbor, come as former President Donald Trump and his Republican allies spread concerns about mass voting by non-citizens. Experts say illegal voting by the non-citizens is extremely rare. I mean, I disagree. But they say it's extremely rare, and when it does happen, it's usually caught quickly. The Chinese man, a student at the University of Michigan, cast his ballot on Sunday during early voting and then reached out to local election officials later that day in an attempt to get the ballot back. So he was just doing it to see if they would catch him, and they didn't because he was the one who called it out. The man registered to vote at the polling place on Sunday the same day. He used his university ID and other documents to demonstrate his residency in Ann Arbor. He didn't even have to show his citizenship. He just did a student ID. While filling in, he did, same day voter registration forms. And the Detroit News was the first to report this, so, I had to say that. The suspect is legally present in the U.S., the source added. If he is convicted, he could potentially be deported back to China. This is really bad for election integrity. This is really bad for elections. This is really bad for the upcoming election. This is not a good look on anybody. It's not a good look on this person from China. It's not a good look on Michigan. It's not a good look on the United States or the Harris administration. What it is a good look for is the Trump administration, because he knows of this and he's going to abolish this. Let's talk about today's Wacko Alert segment. Harris and Biden are gearing up for their big loss with new security fencing around the White House. Kamala has finally built a wall around her own home that's soon not to be her own home. Bracing for potential unrest in the aftermath of Tuesday's presidential election, federal and district authorities are installing security enhancements in Washington, D.C. with fencing around the White House, Vice President Kamala Harris's residence, and the U.S. Capitol. In addition, 8-foot fencing also now surrounds the Treasury Department complex and parts of Lafayette Square and the Naval Observatory, measures implemented by the U.S. Secret Service, who we should, defund, that are part of a wide-ranging public safety preparations for Tuesday's election, the agency said in a statement on Sunday. The Secret Service is doing the same at the Convention Center in Palm Beach, Florida, where Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump is hosting an election night party. So what they'll do is they'll protect the president's house, and the most Secret Service could do for Trump is protect his rally. And we know how that went last time they tried to protect his rally. D.C. police announced road closures that will take effect on Monday night around Howard University, where Harris will hold her election night party Tuesday night. Here's a quote from Florida. I don't know. Someone from Florida. They said, quote, the Secret Service is working closely with federal, state, and local partners in Washington, D.C. and Palm Beach County, Florida, to ensure heightened levels of election safety and security. These enhancements are not in response to any specific issues, but are part of wide-ranging public safety preparations for Tuesday's election. The added security measures are being undertaken by business and property owners in D.C. as well, with the January 6, 2021, what they call an insurrection, I call, whatever, on Capitol Hill, still fresh in the memory of the aftermath of the 2020 election. If we talk too much about January 6th, what they do is they like to take down your podcast on Spotify. All 3,300 district police officers will be deployed in 12-hour shifts, according to this report. Also, one private security firm is mobilizing around 2,000 security guards to help protect their client business that are close in proximity with the White House and the Capitol. So we're not protecting anything except for Kamala Harris's home because, she. So we're not protecting Trump, we're protecting Kamala Harris because she knows she's going to lose. That's essentially what I wanted to say. So that was today's Wacko Alert segment. Moving on to some more political news. Usually we don't do as much political news, but it's so much political news today for Al Patriot. Musk is paying his $1 million as paid spokespeople. Pennsylvania rules that he can continue doing it. This was a big controversy. This guy's giving away $1 million to people who support our Constitution in the country. I don't know how you could be offended by that, but the radical woke MSDNC and the liberals want to take him down. But Pennsylvania says, look, he can continue doing it. Here's what the report says. A Pennsylvania judge ruled Monday that Elon Musk's daily $1 million giveaway to voters can continue in a victory for the tech billionaire and Donald Trump ally. Philadelphia Court of Common Pleas Judge Angelo Foglietta rejected arguments from the city's district attorney, Larry Krasner, who argued that the sweepstakes was an illegal lottery violating state law and must be halted immediately. Talk about illegal lottery. You guys hear about Mr. Beast? Mr. Beast, he's got probably, I think I listed over 20 allegations against him for illegal lottery. So he's getting taken down. He's another Biden and Camilla supporter. The ruling came shortly after an all-day hearing in a packed courtroom in downtown Philadelphia. The hearing was heated at times, with Krasner's team calling Musk's political team shysters. They were running a scam and a grift, those were quotes, and Musk's team accusing the district attorney of pursuing a dreadful violation of constitutional rights. Krasner, a progressive Democrat, filed the lawsuit 1 week ago, and the daily giveaways from Musk's pro-Trump super PAC continue as the issue worked its way through the courts. I think I got this from CNN because it sounds a little radical. In a court Monday, Musk's lawyers said the super PAC isn't picking winners by chance, so that means they're just picking people and it's okay because they're paid spokespeople. They're getting jobs. That's what that means, right? Musk's lawyer said, quote, "There is no prize to be won," I guess aside from the $1 million, but technically speaking, there's no prize to be won. And, quote, "The winners are not chosen by chance." Instead, the lawyer said the so-called prize is actually compensation for serving as a spokesperson for the super PAC, and the recipients of the $1 million are selected based on their suitability to serve as a spokesperson. They earn the $1 million as payment for their work, and that's, by entering the petition. In announcing the giveaway, Musk said, "We are going to be awarding $1 million randomly to people who have signed the petition," referring to his petition to support the Constitution. It's our last segment of the day. I know we've been running very quick. We've only done, 20 minutes? Usually we do 30 minutes, but we did 20 minutes. But we want to tell you why you should vote for Trump. Well, we don't want to tell you who you should vote for, actually, because that's not what I was told to say. I was told to say, we want you to help you pick who you should vote for unbiasedly. So that's what we're going to do. Make your decisions accordingly to what we say. And we're going to give you 3 issues. I'm going to tell you what each candidate does, and then you can pick who you want to vote for. And the first one is going to be the economy. And we're going to talk, Trump had the greatest economy of all time. Lower gas prices, little inflation. And, it's actually good to have little inflation. You don't want to have no inflation, and you don't want to really have deflation, because then it's actually worse. So you want to have a little bit of inflation. That's what Trump did. The greatest economy of all time, lower gas prices, little inflation, cheap groceries. I mean, imagine the price for, eggs, milk, what that would cost under Trump. And now we have Bidenomics, and it's soon to be Kamalanomics. Under the Biden-Harris administration, we've seen record-high inflation. We've seen the lowest amount of jobs created in a single month. We saw that report. We talked about it yesterday in the history of the United States under the Harris administration. Unbelievable. We'd like to also talk to you about immigration unbiasedly. No illegal aliens. I think everyone can agree on that. Trump will have border security under control. Even the Border Patrol endorsed Trump. They endorsed him, along with many other people endorsed him. Harris houses illegal immigrants in nice housing that they pay for, the government pays for, which means you pay for it, and the so-called border czar majorly failed in her efforts in the 3.5 years she's been in office so far. And the last topic I wanted to convince you with is the transgenders in women's sports, because they're putting men in women's sports. You see the swimmer, he, in the women's sports, just won another big title, another big record. Something like you've never seen before. And it's because they're putting Trump. Everyone says, "Oh, Trump hates women." Trump is protecting women by keeping men out of women's sports. That's a big thing. I know many listeners here, they think maybe I shouldn't be saying that, but I really should be. And just to add some bonus points, extra credit points. No tax on tips. No tax on overtime. No tax on Social Security. He might even take away income tax and do tariffs, just like we did with the great George Washington back in the day. So it's important to go vote for Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, whoever you want to vote for, but probably Trump. Right about now, we might be plugging in an interview that we did, or we might not. So then after that, we're going to wrap it up. So that's a wrap on today's Al Patriot episode. Election day is tomorrow. Don't forget to vote. We'll have another episode in the morning previewing the day as well as a concluding episode to let you know who won and what we think about it. Again, don't forget to vote. November 5th is the most important day in the history of our country. The polls are looking great, not just for Trump, but look, for ourselves too. We're doing great. Hundreds of downloads on episode 1. We haven't looked at episode 2 yet, but hundreds of downloads on episode 1 with no promo, little to no promo. People are tuning in from America and other great places, and we're going to continue to do a great job promoting the truth and true patriotism. In the great words of the great Frank Sinatra, start spreading the news and start spreading the truth. Remember to vote on November 5th for Trump and Vance along with Robert F. Kennedy, Elon Musk, so we can make America strong again. We can make America healthy again. We can make America do rockets again with Elon Musk. We can make America great again. We can talk the truth. This is Al Patriot, Freedom of Speech Podcast. God bless you. God bless America. And good night.